I think we're good to go now. So, welcome everybody. Good evening. Welcome to this stream. I think we're good to go now. I can see the stream now. So, everybody, welcome to Chat with TISSNET 6.0, where we inspire you to do, dare, and dream. My name is Uttkarsh Bawankar, and I'm a first-year student at TISS HRM LR program. By background, I'm a computer science engineer from Nagpur, and I'm a complete fresher. With me today is Himani, my batchmate.
Thanks, Uttkarsh. My name is Himani. I belong to Delhi. I have done my graduation in economics. Post that, I have also prepared for UPSC for some time. And then, along with that, I also done my master's in economics again. And now I am at TISS.
Yes. So let me first take you through the concept and the structure of our PPT. So we'll start off with introducing TISS. And so you could get clear with the why TISS factor, and you should decide better by understanding the history and the present of TISS. Then we'll move on to the TISSNET strategy section. Well, I'll explain you each and every section and a strategy associated with it. With respect to your background and current level preparation, how will we go forward in this? Okay, so I'll suggest you that keep your questions ready. Keep writing them throughout the session. If you have any doubts or anything, just write them down. And the end of the session, we'll start a Q&A session with all of you, and you can post your questions and we'll try to answer maximum out of them. Okay, understood everybody? Good evening and welcome. Now we'll start the presentation. Himani, take over, please.
Thanks, Utkarsh. So I'll be taking you all to the most basic and the most important question, that what is TISS? The Tata Institute of Social Sciences was established in the year 1936 as by himself, Sir Dorabji Tata, as a graduate school of social work. Over the years, TISS evolved and it is now spread across four cities, namely Mumbai, Guwahati, Tuljapur, and Hyderabad. It is offering at present 111 courses. Now, the very unique USP of this is the Sir Dorabji Tata Memorial Library with best-in-class facilities and resources. And trust me, this has been our go-to destination for all the things that we need for our project work, for our assignments, for our field work, as well as our case competitions, since it is a very rich repository of journals and research papers. Now, this has been rated AAA with a score of 3.89 out of 4 by NAC in 2016. Next slide. So, talking specifically about the TISS HRM and LR program, it is very important to mention here that TISS HRM and LR program is not just focused on producing professionally competent people, but at the same time, business leaders with social sensitivity. Now, how is that ensured? The social sensitivity component is ensured through two things. One is the rural immersion program that we get to do, and second is the NGO stint. This helps us to understand the challenges at the grassroots level so that we are able to apply our business knowledge and whatever we have gained through the institute in a very empathetic manner. Therefore, the overall aim is to make individuals professionally competent, but at the same time empathetic to the social issues around us and apply the business knowledge accordingly. Next slide. Now, moving to the TISS HRM and LR program, that I will be explaining here that what makes the program better than a B school. There are four differentiating factors in this. The most important being the research-based curriculum, which is not there in many other B schools. So we have to carry out dissertation, which starts in stage 1 in the semester 2. And then we are also engaged in fieldwork internships across 4 semesters in top-notch organizations in various industries, for example, pharmaceutical, banking, services, consulting. Then comes the social work stint. So, as I already told, the social work stint is comprised of the rural immersion program and also the NGO stint. The NGO stint occurs at the end of the fourth semester, and the rural immersion program is a week-long initiative that helps us to grasp the grassroots challenges in the rural areas. Again, these two stints make the students empathetic and socially sensitive individuals. And finally, the differentiating factor is the interdisciplinary exposure. Since there are a number of schools and there are a number of courses in TISS, we get to interact with people from different disciplines. There are courses like disaster management or gender studies, and we get to interact with all the people around and enrich our knowledge. Moving on. So I'll be talking about the unmatched pedagogy at TISS. The USP is hands-on learning with a focus on evidence-based management. Now, I'll be starting with the foundation course. Now, what is the foundation course? This is basically a program that we undertake in the first semester, and it is divided into two parts. One is Ideas of India, and second is India's development challenges. It talks about various social issues, basically political issues, economy, environment. So we get to learn from many reputed and good scholars of the field. We talk about in-depth discussions, and there are courses on mental health as well. Coming to the fieldwork component, the fieldwork is spread across 4 semesters. So this is something that again is a USP at TISS, since in other B schools, the students undertake a summer internship. But here we also get the exposure of fieldwork in 4 different semesters. And at the end of the post-graduation, the students have industry exposure of 6 months. In the fieldwork, there are many reputed organizations that come, and the fieldwork can be concurrent or block fieldwork. But in the online facility, we had the block fieldwork, which is basically after the semester ends, we get to work with an organization for 1 month, and we are able to apply whatever we have learned in the class and get good knowledge from there. Coming to the dissertation part, dissertation is derived basically from the research-based pedagogy at TISS. So dissertation is starting from the semester 2, and the stage 1 starts from there. But in semester 1 itself, we are also acquainted about the various research programs. For example, we had a course on quantitative research. We also had a course on qualitative research, so that we are knowing about what is research. And then one unique thing about dissertation at TISS is also that we do not have to choose a topic which is just sticking to the HRM program, but we can choose any topic for our dissertation spread across the different schools of TISS. And we can also have the liberty of choosing our research guide. So this is truly amazing at TISS. Coming to the rural immersion program, the rural immersion program is a week-long initiative, and in this we get to go to a rural area. We understand the challenges there. Not only this makes the people more socially sensitive, we are also able to apply our business knowledge in a more empathetic manner in the future. Then TISS also offers an international exchange program. Now, this international exchange program provides students at TISS the opportunity to go abroad and learn from colleges there. At the same time, the students from abroad can also come here at TISS and learn. International exchange program is handled through a dedicated international relations office, and there is a proper online exam for that, followed by an interview, and GMAT score is also necessary for that, and further information can be gained from the official website. And finally, the NGO stint. So at the end of the fourth semester, students get to do a 1 month NGO stint. They understand the business model of the NGO, how they work. They also understand the challenges that the NGO is facing, and they can offer their solutions so that NGOs work in a better manner. And overall, the students also gain through an empathy and social sensitivity through the NGO stint. Moving on. So let me tell you about the opportunities that TISS offers. TISS is truly a reputed organization. It offers very amazing opportunities to the students. As you can see here, the students have performed exceedingly well in case competitions. So what are case competitions? Case competitions are basically real time business challenges, which are offered by reputed organizations, corporates of the country. And the students have to don on their thinking caps and they give solutions to these real time business challenges. There are many competitions, for example, by Mintra Style Biz, then there is Asian Paints Conundrum, and then there is HL Nutcracker. So apart from the case competitions, the student also have the opportunity of live projects. Live projects are floated by organizations from across the industries, and that is basically a kind of part-time work. And again, real-time challenges are offered to the students. The projects are given, and they have to work on it according to their acumen and along with their academic classes. Moving on. So here is a list of the fieldwork recruiters that come to TISS. Uh, this is really a USP at TISS, since the fieldwork component is not there in any other B school. We can see here many big time and reputed names, for example, Reckitt, Mondelez, Cipla, Tata Steel. Not only this, these organizations are spread across different industries, for example, pharmaceutical or manufacturing, FMCG. And the faculty also ensures that in every semester, we get to work with a different industry sector in the fieldwork organization. So if we are working maybe on manufacturing in our first semester, we might be working with a pharmaceutical organization in the next semester. And this gives us a very rich exposure to the industry. Moving on. Coming to the final placements for the batch of 2021, this is something you might all be waiting for, and this is truly amazing opportunity that this provides. So there were a total of 36 recruiters and 22 pre-placement offers were given. What are pre-placement offers? So when the students work for 2 months in an organization in their summer internship, if the organization feel that the student has performed exceedingly well and it is also deemed fit that the student can perform well in the future in the organization, the student is offered a pre-placement offer. So the final placement saw the highest CTC at 29.32 lakh per annum. The average CTC was 19.62 lakh per annum, and the median CTC was 19.89 lakh per annum. And these placements are a key feature at this. Next slide. So here you can see the final placement recruiters which came to the organization. There are again big names here, for example, TAS or Accenture, Asian Paints, Bridgestone. There are also startups that come. Again, these are spread across different industry sectors. There are consulting companies, there are pharmaceutical companies, manufacturing, FMCG, and different names are there. Next slide. Coming to the summer placements, so these are the statistics for summer placements for our batch. So we just completed our placement process 2 months back, and a total of 38 recruiters came, and there was a huge increase in the median stipend, that is 20%. So the median stipend was around 2,40,000 rupees. The highest stipend was 3,30,300, and the average stipend was 2,34,861. Next slide. Here you can see the recruiters who came for the summer placements for our batch. These are very reputed organizations of the country. For example, Samsung, Google, Flipkart, Mars. These are spread across different industry sectors. There are startups. At the same time, there are many established organizations as well. Moving on. So this is the final placement of for the batch of 2022. We are really delighted to announce that the batch of 2022 has signed out with 100% placements. And not just this rare feat has been achieved on day zero itself. So that is a huge achievement, and that also shows the level of talent that is there in our program. Then a total of 41 companies came to participate in the final placement process, and highest ever placement figures were achieved in the history of MA, HRM, and LR program. And that is a truly amazing feat. Further figures will be released very soon, so therefore stay tuned for that. Moving on. Coming to the alumni, now, the TISS HRM and LR program has a very strong alumni base. They always guide us, whether it is our summer internship or our field work. They're always there to support us. And many of the CHROs have also gone on to become CEOs of companies. Next slide. The recent addition to the Hall of Fame is Miss Savita Shivshankar, who has become the CHRO of Asian Paints. Next slide. Now, we have already talked about the study and the pedagogy at TISS. Now, let me take you all to the fun part, the life at TISS. As I already said, that given the interdisciplinary nature at TISS, there are a lot of opportunities and there is a very engaging learning environment. There are a number of committees as well which keep us engaged throughout the year. I'll be starting with the alumni committee. Alumni committee acts as a bridge and an interface between the alumni of the program and the current students. They organize regular basis talks, the HR talks by the alums. There are also guest lecture series called Samvad. Then there are also alum city meets where we get to go and interact with the alumni of the college. Then I'll come to the editorial committee. The editorial committee is comprised of very intellectual people who organize very intellectual discourses through their series called Paridrishya. They also have an annual journal that is called as a Kaustubham, and it has very well curated articles. It is a rich repository of HR knowledge, and we always look forward to that magazine. Then I'll come to the committee called HRM and LR Forum. The committee basically is responsible for organizing events, and it always keeps us engaged, occupied throughout the year. The main annual cultural fest of Forum is called Manthan, and it truly churns out an enriching experience for us all. It is comprised of management conclaves, quizzes and contests. At the same time, fun events. There are also lectures by distinguished people, the HR heads. There are corporate interactions by the committee, and that keeps us engaged throughout. And it is a truly rich learning experience. And now coming to the committee called ARC, Aspirant Relations Committee, which I think Uttkarsh will be telling about.
Hello everyone, I'm Uttkarsh and I'm from the ARC. ARC stands for Aspirants Relations Committee. It is the official branding and PR committee of TISS. So any communication you have heard from us so far about the exams, the preparation strategies, the RDF and Quiztopia as well, it is under ARC, and we manage the aspirants relations as in the name and also the branding of the entire course.
So I'll come to the industry exposure part. I've already talked about the case competitions, which give us a very rich industry exposure. Apart from the case competitions, we get to work in the fieldwork organizations. We also get to work in the summer internship. And finally, the industry exposure is also ensured through regular HR head talks or the corporate interactions, where the HR heads come, the corporate heads come, and they tell us about the evolving nature of human resources and how we can perform well, how we can upskill ourselves. And these opportunities make this truly unique, and we have great learning experience here. from now onwards, Utkarsh will be taking on.
Okay, so guys, let's move on to the subject you need to worry about right now. There are a lot of interesting doubts that are coming in the chat, and it's good to see that. I suggest you that you hold on to them, write them down. I'll be answering at them at the end of the session. And while I walk you through the process and the strategy section, most of your doubts will be cleared by then. Okay, so let's start. First, let's talk about the selection process. The stage one is TISSNET, which is happening on 26th of February, as you know right now. The later stages are not yet announced due to the uncertain times. So any doubts regarding TISSNET or the interview process, what would be the weightage, is not yet announced. But that doesn't mean you need to worry about them. ARC is there. We would guide you through any of the upcoming processes and we will keep you informed on time. Okay. So this is how the entire process will happen. TISSNET, stage 2 processes will be announced, the stage 2 processes would take place, and then the final merit list would be announced, on the base of which the final selection would take place. um, let's go to the timeline. Let's move a bit. Last day to apply for TISSNET is 7th February 2022. If you have not yet applied for TISSNET, it's the right time now. Go and apply. There's also an online pre-admission orientation program for reserved category students, which would revolve around how the pre-admission process take place, which is on the 12th and 13th February 2022. It would be online. TISSNET hall ticket would be able to download from 14th to 21st Feb. Now keep in mind that the last date to download is 21st Feb, not 26th Feb, not on the day of the exam. So it's better you start downloading once the hall ticket is released, and the TISSNET exam takes place on 26th Feb 2022. Let's move on. So TISSNET, let's talk about the exam. TISSNET is a 100 questions exam, which is of 100 marks, and there are 100 minutes for it. What does it mean? That every question almost is of 1 minute. You can invest 1 minute per question. Now this what this signifies in relation to other management exams where you get 3 to 4 questions per question, is that the relative difficulty of each of the sections, maths, English and GK, is less. When you are expected to solve questions in lesser time, the questions are set in such a way that you can solve in that limited amount of time per question, each 1 minute each. Now this depends on you and your current level preparation, or your strengths and weaknesses, how you manage that time. You won't be just keeping an I need to spend just 1 minute on this question, 1 minute on this question. No, you can decide, like, I need to spend more time on my strength and gather most of the marks from that section, or you can also decide that I need to spend most of the time on my weaker section so I can get more marks out of that. Anyways, I'll talk about each of the strategies in the next slides. Structure of the exam: 30 questions from English Proficiency, 30 questions from Mathematics and Logical Reasoning, and 40 questions from General Awareness. You can see the weightage here: 30, 30, 40. Clearly, General Awareness has a higher level of weightage compared to English and Maths. So this is a section which actually makes the difference between your final marks which you obtain, and that is a deciding factor when it comes to shortlisting, because 40 marks is a huge chunk of marks that you need to score in order to clear the cutoff. Now, understanding the structure, as I've talked about, 100 questions, 100 marks, but there is no negative marking. As you know, every right answer consists of 1 mark. You answer it right, you get 1 mark, but if you answer it wrong, you do not are penalized with a negative mark. So you have to attempt all the questions in the exam. You cannot just leave any questions. Okay. A main factor to consider here is there is a sectional cutoff, but only for GK, and it is a compulsory sectional cutoff, which is 35% or 14 marks for general, EWS and Kashmir migrants category, also armed forces, and 30%, that is 12 marks for OBC, NC and PWD category. Now these 14 and 12 mark cutoffs are compulsory to clear. Let's say even if you get out of marks in English and mathematics and you clear the overall cutoff of the exam, and you fail to clear this sectional cutoff, then you will not be shortlisted for the next stages. So yeah, this also increases the importance of GK section much more. Okay, this is a compulsory cutoff to clear, and you have to keep in mind that TISSNET is not just for the admissions of TISS HRM and LR course. It is a common test for all MA courses. So you are ensured that the test level, the level of the questions would be in such a way that everyone would be able to attempt that test at different levels. Okay, so don't need to worry about that. Would the math section be too hard? Like, I'm not an engineer, I don't have good mathematics. I need to worry, would I be able to crack it? Or if I am an engineer, I only know maths, I'm weaker in English, and I'm no general knowledge. You don't need to worry that. The exam is for everyone. Everyone with a decent level of preparation can do good in. Okay. When it comes to GK, you it is better advised that you consider this exam as a pattern of 60 plus 40, where 40 is GK and 60 is English and maths. English and maths are the sections where you have to maximize your marks. You cannot lose your marks on English and GK, and through the English and mathematics, and through the GK questions you try to clear the cutoff, the sectional cutoff and the overall cutoff, and you try to get shortlisted for the further rounds. As you know, in GK, revision is the key. No matter how much you read, if you do not remember anything, it is of no use in the actual exam. Be selective in your sources. There's nothing like this, that this is a good source or this is a bad source. Anything which matches you. Okay, for me it was just like going online. There was lot of open source videos or PDFs available online. I used to do that, but keep in mind that your preparation needs to be structured. You can't just go and try to read this, try to read that. It is not possible humanly to cover everything under the sun for the GK section, and that you have to keep in your mind, and keep your preparation structured. Revision is the key. You have to in a cycle revise. You should create an automatic cycle in which revision comes after a certain day. For some people it might be daily, that they need to revise daily. For some people it might be twice a week. For some people it might be once a week. So you need to decide and find out for yourself that what is the time you need to revise everything, so that it does not skips out of your mind. Okay, let's now discuss every section in detail. English proficiency. So if you have given other management exams, let's say for example CAT or ZAT, TISSNET is a little bit different. Okay, TISSNET 2 consists of direct questions on vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms, grammar correction. You might have looked at the previous year questions of TISSNET, and these are the questions that are directly asked in English proficiency subject. One of the most useful tool. I have talked to many aspirants, my batchmates who have come from different background, using different strategies. They have cracked this exam, and everyone, one thing in everyone's strategy is common, that is reading. You need to be proficient in reading and understanding what the content is. For example, in the reading comprehension section, that is important. While reading the paragraph, you should understand what the author is trying to say and what point he is putting. If his stance is clear or he is playing a diplomatic view, that is something you need to understand, and that would not come overnight, that you'll just read a paragraph and you are now cursing yourself that you are not trying to understand it. No, you have to build that habit of taking everything in. So that is one of the way of doing it, is read paragraphs, articles from different backgrounds written, let's say on psychology, on political science, on geography, on history. These different sections have different authors and different views are presented. In this way, you are tasted different specs. You have won different specs and looked at different things from various angles. This increases your comprehension level. One thing, the most powerful tool was newspaper reading. Newspaper reading played an important role in my preparation, in my strategy, because it had two advantages. First, English, I was habitual of reading. I became habitual of reading, and my vocabulary increased slowly due to reading of different words coming in that. And second of all, it also helped me in gaining the knowledge for current affairs. See, if you read newspaper daily, even if you are not habitual yet, just start from today. Today read it, and tomorrow onwards just go, wake up at 8 9, what is your time, and just read the newspaper. This way you'll add to your current affairs knowledge, and you'll have the habit of reading and understanding. Now when it comes to vocabulary, different people take different approach in learning vocabulary. For some people it is just opening the dictionary, on opening any of the site which has the different words mentioned and their meaning written besides them. They memorize it and they are good to go. They understand the whole usage of the word, and they are like on it. It's like their chance of. For me it did not work. For me, memorizing the words vocabulary in English did not ever work. So what I always did, what if I'm reading a section of text and I come across a certain word of which I do not know the meaning of, so I would not just go on Google and search for the meaning. I would read a few sentences above it and I will read the few sentences below it and try to understand, contextually understand the meaning of the word. Let's say superfluous. If a word superfluous is mentioned and I do not know the meaning of it, I'll read the previous line and read the next line, and taking the context in, I'll try to guess what the meaning is. Then I'll write that meaning down, what I think is the meaning of the word, and then I'll go to Google and search its original meaning. Now, this way, what happens is you get the habit of trying to understand meaning of word contextually. Okay. Plus, when you Google the meaning and you find out how close your actual meaning of actual meaning is from your guessed meaning, you gain the confidence. Then you are starting to understand the text, and even after this, repeating this exercise a couple of times, you'll know that even if you're reading a text where 2 3 words are completely foreign and you have never heard them before, you'd start to understand the meaning of them. You'll try to guess the meaning. Yes, if it is used in such a way in a sentence, this shall mean this. This is how you boost your vocabulary. Now, this is a practice which you need to do for a very long time, but let's say the exam is just 1 month, exactly 1 month, 26 is today. So what you need to do is take harder text. Let's start with harder text, and text from different backgrounds which you have no knowledge about. This way you gain the knowledge of the subject, also you gain the knowledge of the vocabulary. As I mentioned, English proficiency consists direct questions on vocabulary and on synonyms. So you need to have a good understanding of it. Okay, this was how I prepared for English proficiency and how the thematic understanding is of this section. Let's move on to the mathematics and logical section. I'll try to link everything and I'll try to make up a general view of how to approach the exam. Okay, so mathematical and logical reasoning was my strongest point. I felt like that because the level of questions in maths is relatively lower when compared to other management exams. Obviously, because the time is less, you're expected to solve more number of questions in less amount of time. So how do I go about mathematical and logical reasoning? My strategy was to devote maximum amount of time in the mathematical and logical reasoning section. Why? My philosophy which I followed was I planned not to go on like a single wrong answer in this section, and it worked for me. That might be not be the case with you, because I have talked to a lot of aspirants and my batchmates, and some of the people consider giving more time in their weaker section. In English and in GK, the amount of time you spend is lesser in GK compared to English, because in GK either you know the answer or you do not know the answer. For mathematics, it is not the case. You have to think about it. You have to think about solving the questions, and you have to also think that, do you need to devote time? Is it worth it? Do I need, will I get to answer if I start solving these questions? You have to ask yourself 3 questions when you see a mathematics problem. First of all, can I solve this question right here, right now? While just reading the question, can I solve it? Is it that straightforward? If the answer is yes, do it. Solve it right there and tick the answer. The second question you need to ask is, yes, I can solve the question, but not right now. I would require a specific amount of time to go by it. Now here comes the trick part. You need to also think about different ways of solving that. How? You need to read the options. Sometimes maths questions are tricky, and it is way easier to solve them through the options, going in a reverse pattern. If you know that A, B, D cannot be the answer, then C is the answer. When you read let's say an algebra problem, and you are not sure how would I apply a formula in this case, or it's a word problem and you're not understanding how do I form numbers or variables out of this, you read certain options and you try to eliminate those options. Let's say you read a question and option A says 30. Now you're absolutely sure that the average age of the question cannot be 30 due to a thinking process that you have went through. You eliminate the options. Now the remaining options are 3. And as you know, there are no negative marking in this section. You have to mark option, so it's better that you increase your probability. When there are 4 options, obviously your probability of getting right is 25%. When there are 3 options, it gets up to 33 to 50%. So you try to do this, eliminate as many wrong options as you can. You eliminate option, you eliminate a second option, and you this way get to the right option. Now you can, if you are initially listening this and not have not practiced this method ever before, you might think that this is only applicable to mathematical and maths question. No, this is also applicable to the English section. Think about it. Let's say you are faced with a question of antonyms and synonyms. You don't know the meaning of the word given in the question, but you do know the meaning of the words given in the options. You do know that. You eliminate, no, this cannot mean this, no way possible. You eliminate the options, and the one remaining is the correct options. As I said, no negative marking, just increase your probability of getting the questions right. One general tip is, if you have given mocks or any other exams till now, you might have an habit of marking the question for review and attempting it at the end of the session with a buffer time left. In TISSNET, I'll suggest you, if you're doing that, at least mark any of the options and mark it for review later. Because if you do not get the time at the end to come back and review that question, at least the answers are marked. Okay. So that increases your chance of getting higher marks. So you just mark, if you are taking any questions and marking it for review later, just mark any options, mark it, and then come back if the time permits. So basically, how you attempt maths is, as I told you, for me, I dedicated the 30 questions are there, so you are expected to solve this section in 30 minutes. I devoted more than 30 minutes in this section because I wanted to get all the questions right. Again, you have to decide according to your strength and weakness that how many questions you are planning to do right. When I say this, it does not mean that you should keep a static aim in your mind that I need to solve these many questions and I need to get these many questions right. Because what it will create it will create a static understanding in your brain. And TISSNET cutoffs or TISSNET question paper is not static at all. The most variable thing in TISSNET is its cutoff. It varies hugely, so you cannot predict that what would be the cutoff this year. So if the question paper is easy, the cutoff will go high, and it should reflect in your attempts. If the question paper is easy, you should get most of the questions right. If the question paper is hard, you will feel that while solving the questions that no, this paper is tougher than what I have solved previously. So you would get the feeling, and this should be an adaptive mode of solving the paper. You should not keep a static goal in your mind. This would affect your opportunity. Let's say you keep a aim of getting 25 questions right in maths. What if the question paper is too easy? You attempt 25 questions, you get them right while spending, and you just move on. But due to the fact that the question paper is easy, everyone else is getting more than 25 questions right, the cutoff will go high and you would not clear it. Okay. And what if the question paper is too difficult and it is too difficult to get 25 questions right? You'd feel depressed in that moment that I was getting 25 questions right while previously practicing. I'm not getting in that moment. So your approach needs to be adaptive, not only in maths, in English as well, and in GK as well. So that's how to practice maths and logical reasoning, especially. What I found, my personal practice was just online. You can solve sudokus or kakuros was game which trains you in fast calculation and logical reasoning as well. And if you're referring any materials, first level questions, difficulty level questions would be fine, because there the main demand of TISSNET is solving the questions fast rather than giving you super hard questions. There are questions easier, but you are expected to solve them fast. Now, how to achieve this speed if you are not comfortable in the mathematics section? Just try to reduce the time taken in calculations. This would help you a lot. If you are not proficient enough in this section and you cannot think about solutions right away, you cannot think about logical reasoning, you cannot formulate an algorithm, like you cannot understand what the question is asking, so you would take time to get to that stage. But the part where you have to calculate, add things, subtract things, multiply and divide things, that is the time you can reduce, and you need to practice in order to reduce that. Try solving questions without feeling the need to write anything down, especially in maths section where you are solving word problems and calculating things. Try to unlearn the habits you have done till now, especially in your, if your 10th and 12th exams you need to write a lot of things while calculating things. Try to avoid that, try to unlearn that thing and do all the calculations mentally. Of course, if it is a very hard calculation, you need to write some things down, but most of the time try to do it, and TISSNET level maths questions are able to be solved that way. Second tip would be learn fractions. Learn fractions to percentages. That would be very helpful in the exam. That would reduce the calculation time. That you need to know that 1 by 4 is 25%, 1 by 5 is 20%, 1 by 3 is 33%. These kind of conversations are very easy to learn. You just see, read it once and you would get that, okay, this is fairly simple. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Reduce your calculation speed. Even if you are not comfortable with, even if this is not your best section, your time will reduce and you would be able to solve this question faster. Okay, now I have told you that how to go towards the preparation from English section. You read more, get that habit, and math section. Now there's comes a question like you have to decide what section to attempt first. For me, I attempted English first, and my reasoning for that was the whole paper is in English and you have to read throughout the paper. Let it be math section or even GK section, you have to read a lot of things. So I attempted English first. It got me into that mood of reading things faster. You can decide that way as well. Whatever you are comfortable with, you attempt that section first. Now comes the general awareness section. As you know, this section has the maximum weightage, and said by many people, this would be your make or break section. As an engineer fresher, I did not have any experience in general knowledge. I have not prepared general knowledge for any exams prior to this. I read general knowledge for say ZAT and IFT. Other than that, previously no knowledge. So my approach for general knowledge was very quick. Let's say I wanted to learn many things at a very fast rate. So what I did actually was, as I previously told, that I had a habit of reading newspapers, so increased my reading speed, also added the current affairs knowledge to my part, and I focused highly on current affairs this year. And it paid off, because this year TISSNET, the weightage of current affairs questions was slightly more than static GK questions, but that was not the case a year prior to that. So you have to keep a balance of knowledge of both static and current affairs. And you, if you would ask, a question would come that how much should we at what time do we consider current affairs? Is that 1 month ago, 2 months ago? I say you read news or current affair questions at the day before to that TISSNET exam as well, because our TISSNET exam happened in Feb, and the current affair questions consisted of things which happened in Jan as well. So you need to know stuff currently. And if you're asking, there's no such hard limit, but people usually suggest that you need to at least cover 12 months of current affair questions. This way you'll find it that. And just to tell you a few points from which questions can usually come are this, like government schemes. Government schemes are an important thing which you get to read daily about in newspaper. Environmental sanctuaries, parks, their names. UN legal bodies, what do they do? Summits, global summits, and the theme of the summit, that if a summit is happening, then why is it happening? Environmental reason, political reason, human rights reason, what is this for? Important days, what does this day stand for? Awards and honors, and plus in sports field as well. As you know, currently Australian Open is going on, so there's a question can come like, who is the winner of the Australian Open in 2022? So you need to keep yourself updated with these things. Now you for especially for the people who have never prepared for general awareness before, these things might sound very intimidating. If I was in your place right now, yes, I would feel the same, but you know, do not need to worry about that. I'll tell you how, and I'll tell you the reason why. Capturing a specific set of topics can also help you cracking the exam. First of all, questions can be asked from anywhere. There is no boundary or limitations from where the questions can be asked. So it is not humanly possible to cover everything under the sun. Second of all, when you strategize your preparation, you get the feeling of getting somewhere. If you strategize, and let's say I'll tell you, I have talked to different people coming from UPSC background who have a very strong background in preparing general awareness questions, who have spent multiple years preparing that, and plus freshers like me as well who have done it just a month or two before the exam. So something in between them, I'll suggest you and talk to you how you can go to this. Okay. Uh, you divide sections in that. Let's say you divide sections such as geography, political situations, global bodies, prominent leaders, and important dates. You differentiate your sections in this type. Now when you read something regarding to that session title, you fill in the data. Let's say you are working in an Excel sheet, you're filling the data, you're filling the knowledge in that, and this way you try to fill up as much as possible in this. As much as possible, it does not mean that you keep reading on 24 hours and you read this, you read that. No, something you have to understand that how much you can digest in one go. You do that and you fill up this section. Now this would help you in gauging how much you are prepared in every different section. Now, as I said a few slides before, revision is important. Select a day of the week or 2 days in a week where you revisit all this data. And as the data is with you in a single file, or if you are writing then in the single book, then you get that feeling of revising it. And once you read that things, you get it. Now you'll say that, let's say there's this much of things to learn about GK, and due to the limitations of time, you get to know this much as well. So I'll prefer you that you read these things very well. Okay. Now how would this help is that not exact questions would be asked of what you know, but you can derive an answer of due to the questions you know. Let's say you have read about summits and there's a particular summit ABC you have read about and you know everything about it, but the question is asked about a summit which is named XYZ you have not read about, but due to your knowledge you gained about ABC summit, you may be able to answer this question as well. You try to deduce. Now ABC and XYZ both are being both summits are being undertaken by the same UN body, the same international body, so they may be on the same event. And when you read the options, you know, no, this comes under ABC, this comes under ABC, this comes under ABC, and the only remaining options is XYZ. I'll repeat again, option elimination helps. You need to increase your probability. Once you read a general awareness questions, you get the idea that you would be able to answer this or not. Either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. Because of this fact alone, you take a lot less time when compared to English and mathematics. But this does not mean that you just read the question and decide if you know or not. Okay, you also read the options. I am emphasizing on this fact that you read options in all the sections, because it is very much possible that you can go to the question from the answer. Okay, let's say asked that who is the leader of a certain state. You know that the remaining three or remaining two are not the leader of that state, but so remaining options two can be the answer. So your probability of getting it right is 50%. All I'm saying is increase your probability. Okay, increase your probability of getting questions right and you will score high. Okay, for people who have their strength as GK, who are very good in GK, it's a bonus for you. Try to score as many marks as possible in this section. It will affect you as the number of questions are higher compared to English and mathematics. It will be more advantageous for you. For me personally, GK was not my section, was not my strength. Maths was my strength, English was somewhere in between, and GK was my weakest section. So I tried to score maximum amounts of marks in mathematics and English section. Of course, in the English section, you cannot guarantee everything will good, but in maths, with enough practice, you can have that. And in general awareness, either you know the question or you do not know. So as I have told you, you need to segregate sections. You add data in that, select a day or two in a week, and you revise everything. You revise. Even if you have 20% knowledge of entire thing you have to cover, I suggest it would be better if you have a complete knowledge of that 20% rather than having some knowledge of every thing else. Okay, and try to have knowledge from every section. You just can't go like, I am a sports enthusiast, so I'll read everything about sports. That's not how it works. Try to have knowledge about every section. And if you are habitual of reading newspaper, I'm sure a lot of things are covered for you. And if you're not, I'll still suggest start reading newspaper. It will help you in both ways, in English proficiency as well and in general awareness section as well. Reminder, general awareness is the most important section. General EWS, Kashmir Migrants and Armed Forces, 14 marks is your cutoff. OBC PWD, 12 marks is your cutoff. Okay? If you are very much confident in maths and English, then you must also cover this cutoff. If you, GK is your strongest section, then obviously you would cover this and try to score maximum marks out of this. Okay, so everyone remember, there's only a single sectional cutoff in the exam, and which is for the GK section. So it makes it the most important section of it. Now general tips for the exam, which would be helpful for everyone. For, let's say, for the people who are starting just right now, don't get intimidated. If you do a structured preparation for the exam, which is just 1 month away, and you focus enough, I think it is possible to crack the exam. Now this doesn't mean that you sit and study for 8-10 hours per day. No, it will burn out yourself. Don't do that. That's a suggestion for people who are been preparing for a long time and are feeling intimidated that only 30 days are remaining. How would we do? I need to study more, 8-10 hours a day. Don't do that. Be in a be in a healthy mental state. Be in a healthy physical state as well. Get enough sleep so that you feel fresh while you consume the content. In GK section, don't try to learn things. Try to connect the dots. If you're reading about something, try to connect it with the knowledge you have already. This would increase your habit of trying to relate things to each other. This way, you would be able to answer questions in the GK section you have not read directly about. Okay, so don't burn out yourself. Be in a healthy mental state. Even if you're like scoring, attempting, let's say, a huge number of questions in your practice sessions, and you are completely comfortable in scoring high amount of marks in TISSNET, but if you burn out yourself the day before your exam, you won't be able to do, even if your average attempt, you would not be able to give your average attempt in the exam if you're not in a good state. Try to be healthy mentally and physically, and try to make the best out of the time remaining. Don't get intimidated. Structure your plan, structure your strategy of how to go about the exam. And as I told that I decided what section I should attempt first, find out what works best for you. You can talk to many people who have given the exam, or your mentors as well. You can ask them for their strategy. They'll tell you something. Now you ask another person, the another person tells you the same thing, and both have cleared, let's say, TISSNET and scored high amount of marks. This proves that no one strategy is fit for everyone. That's not the case. The best strategy for you is the one you find. You do trial and error. You try to solve, let's say, GK first. See how it is affecting your time remaining for the math section. Are you getting 2 10s in the end? Try to switch it up. If it does not works for you, try to attempt the math section first. See if you are getting too less time for the GK section or not. The things which work for you well, take it and store it inside you. The things do not working, try to change it. If attempting math section first works for you, keep it, and then try to switch GK and English. This way, by the method of hit and trial, you get the idea of what works for you and how you're comfortable. As I mentioned, my reason for solving English was I need to get in the mood of reading stuff. It can be same with you. You try solving English section first, and if it helps you with the reading speed, if it does, keep the English section first and try to mess around with maths and GK. Okay, so that was my experience. Now I'll invite Himani to share her tips general for the exam as well. Himani?
Yeah, thanks, Utkarsh. So, I'll talk about the GK section specifically since I have a UPSC background. So, it was a little bit easier for me. But it does not mean that if you do not have a background, for example, Utkarsh did not have a prior general knowledge background, still you'll be able to crack the exam. I think the most important ingredient to crack the exam is confidence. It's very important on the D-Day that you actually are confident, you are not at all nervous. But how does that confidence comes from? I think personally for me the confidence comes from continuous practice and revision. So even though I had UPSC background and there were overlaps in the syllabus for TISSNET as well, but I began with searching the previous year's papers on Google, and I try to analyze the previous year's papers. I try to analyze the topics, the sections that are asked in the GK section, and similarly for maths and English as well. I tried to understand what are my strengths and weaknesses. So I was comfortable with the GK as well as English. And maths was also pretty comfortable since it is only as till 10th level maths. So if I talk about the overall strategy and the general tips, I can say that for GK especially, I think you should just keep making notes. It is very important because GK is a very vast section. So if you do not make notes and you just keep on reading, then it will be difficult to remember the things on the day of the exam, and nothing can be worse than that if you have read but you are not able to recall on the day of the exam 10 questions and you are nowhere to go then. So it's very important that you keep making notes, keep revising them on regular basis. It will be whatever suits you. It may be weekly, it may be fortnightly as well. Similarly, for the English section, I think Utkarsh has already told very well. Particularly for me, also, it the main strategy was to read the newspaper, so it not just makes you more fluent in English and your comprehension skills are improved, but it also gives you an acquaintance about the various current affairs that are happening around us, and therefore it strengthens your GK section as well. And then the math section, I think you can do is you can pick up at least class 10th book. Uh, try to look for the topics that are asked in the previous year's exam, practice them continuously, practice them well, increase your calculation speed, and I think you are good to go. The more you practice, the more confidence you will gain, and the better you will perform on the exam day. Yeah, that's it from my side.
So now we are at the stage that you can ask your doubts. I've already seen a lot of doubts in the chat. We'll try to answer it. So before that, a few things to mention that you can keep connected with the ARC team through these platforms. As some of you might know that we have an initiative named Quiztopia, where we post two questions from each section from 100 continuous days. So today is the 100th day of the Quiztopia, and you can find all our questions from the previous 100 days on our Facebook Aspirants group as well as Pagal Guy Aspirants group. We try to frame this question as close to the TISSNET as possible, easier LOD1 questions and type like that. This helps you practice the questions every night. You can do that. And as you see that placements this year have been fantastic, record breaking placements, and the placement report would be released soon, and it will give you more confidence and motivation to prepare for TISS as well. So keep tuned for that also. Okay, so let's start by answering a few questions from the chat. As Bhavya is asking, hey, if we have a sales profile, will the profile be grilled? Bhavya, no, there's no such thing as grilled. Okay, in an interview sense, you have to be confident and you have to show your value and the confidence in the decisions you have taken in your previous lives. The panelists are there to analyze you and to test you that if you are fit for the organization. They're not sitting there to like roast people. Okay, they're trying to know more about you and check if you're confident enough or not. That's it. Okay.
Yeah,
um,
so Akshada is asking from where to take the mocks. I will say that we cannot suggest any particular mock test series since it is very individual and yeah. But what we can do is that we can find some good mock and test series. See, what is important is not from where you take the mocks. The level of mocks is almost similar everywhere. But it's important that you analyze the mocks. You just not give the mocks and just leave it like that. You analyze them, you analyze your strengths and weaknesses, and then you improve upon it over a period of time. Also, do not worry about what scores you are getting in the mocks, because that does not judges your performance on the D day. It's important that you keep improving, and mocks will help you in that manner as well.
Well said, Himani. Shubham is asking how to tackle the exam fear or stress in this time as exam is getting closer. So, what is the main thing that helps you crack any management exam or any tier 1 institute in general is confidence. Confidence will not come overnight that you'll just feel confident this way. Now I'll start feeling confident from this moment. No, confidence will come from the actions you take, and what actions you can take is devising a strategy. If you strategize your preparation and have faith in it, then you have confidence that yes, if I do these many this much investment in this section, this much investment in this section, and try to work on my weaknesses and hold on to the strengths and good habits that I have till now, then you will get confidence that you are reaching somewhere from this way. Okay, so confidence is the main thing. Have faith in yourself and don't burn out. If you're like working or studying 10 hours for 3 days, and the fourth day you'll start thinking that this is not working, this is not for me, I'll not be able to crack TISSNET. No, if you're starting to prepare for TISSNET, you will crack TISSNET if you have the correct strategy. Try to devise that and have faith in yourself. And all the best, Shubham, for your TISSNET.
So Nivedita is asking that she hasn't started GK yet due to some health issues, and will she be able to cover in such a short time? I would say Nivedita, you can definitely cover. Personally, for me, I started preparing 1 month ago only. So for the TISSNET exam, so dedicatedly I prepared for 1 month. And if you strategize well, as Utkarsh also said, you analyze the previous year's papers. The GK section is not that difficult. You just need to keep making notes, keep revising them on a regular basis. It is important that you remember the questions and the answers to it in the exam hall. And definitely, if you start even at the moment, I think 1 month is a good enough time and you can prepare really well.
Arika, I'm sorry if I have not pronounced your name right, is asking how many mocks one should take in order to clear HRM cutoff. There is no thumb of rule here. Some people might be able to do that just by getting a flavor of the mocks. 1 2 mocks are fine for them, that I get the flavor how fast I need to go. And some people need to invest their times in giving that. Okay, this does not mean that you're weak in that sense. Some people might need to focus and invest their time more on preparation and concept stuff, and some people need to invest more time in the strategy part of the stuff. Okay, you need to be judgmental about these things and try to look on the steps you have taken until now, if it is working in or not. I'll give you an example of a mock. If you have given a mock and you have spent enough time to analyze it, and now you get an idea of how you have attempted the mock, try to see if you're getting the same type of questions wrong repeatedly. Let's say if I'm getting percentages wrong repeatedly in an exam, this means that somewhere I'm lacking in percentages conceptually. I'll go back to my decks. I'll read something about percentages concepts. I'll try to solve some problems specifically in percentages and then try to come back to the mocks. If I see that I'm rarely getting a few things wrong in, let's say, geometry or things like that, so I'm cleared about the concept, I just need to see whether I want to put this much amount of time in that sense or not. So there is no thumb of rule for you. You have to find that yourself, and once you find yourself what works for you best, and that would be the best thing for you to do, you'll score the maximum amount of marks you can through that.
So Arisha is asking, what should I do with math subject as I'm not from a maths background? So I would say, Arisha, that I had a maths background, but I was not very much in touch with maths for some time. But still, I could clear the cutoff. I could attempt the questions just because it is the level of difficulty is not that much. I'm sure you must have read and studied maths at least till class 10th. And if you pick up a class 10 book, you try to also analyze the previous year papers, and you see that the questions are from very simple topics. They might be from geometry, so you can memorize the formulas, practice some questions on a regular basis. They might be from averages, from percentage section, and then you're, I think, good to go. Just keep practicing. It is not something that very difficult, and you cannot crack the exam just because of maths. You can definitely do it, just like I did it.
Maitri is asking, is work experience must to get a seat? I'll say no. Not only work experience, there is no such hard and fast rules for your previous marks as well. As in a case in various IIMs and different institute, this does not directly judge you upon the things you have done in past. Same things also is also applicable in the gap years. Some people might get stuff that I have like 2 or 3 years just gap years. Would that affect my chance? See, this is looking for diversity in their group, and talking about my batch, we have a very diverse pool of people like me, completely fresher, just passed out of college and have joined TISS. There are people who have spent like 2 3 years working. There are people who have spent just 2 3 years, let's say, preparing for an exam, stuff like that. They have gap years. The most important thing is you have to justify that thing in your interview. Extending to the question of the fact matter, is the interview too tough, like 1,000 people get calls and only few make it? What defines an interview too tough? What makes you feel that an interview is tough? When you're not able to answer few questions. Now, a few questions are in your hand, you are completely in control, is the questions on your profile. So whatever you write in the form, if you make it through to the next stages, you would be asked a lot more questions about your profile, your work experience, why have you applied. So you need to be clear about that facts. You need to be clear about why are you applying for this HRM and LR, why do you want to pursue this course, and the things ask they can ask about yourself. That are the things you need to be thorough about. And then comes the knowledge section that spark the conversation. You can also kind of manipulate that how the conversation goes forward, and we will talk about this when the interview comes. For the current section, we will stick to the TISSNET and things related to that. Okay, don't need to worry about if you have low scores in 10th and 12th, or you have gap years, or you have from a certain background. You will make it through if you are convincing enough in the interview.
So Nivedita is asking, will last 6 months MCQ current affairs be sufficient? I would say, Nivedita, you go for at least 1 month's current affair, 1 year current affairs.
Hmm.
But it is also important, since time is less, if you are able to get a grasp on the last 6 months current affairs well, I think go for that in a very clear headed manner. It's better than just reading the 1 year current affairs and not remembering anything. So start with the last 6 months current affairs, definitely. But since there is no weightage as such that how many months of current affairs will be asked, it varies year to year. The current affairs might be from January itself, since the exam is in February. So but just start reading them, start memorizing them, and it will help you a lot.
Ojaswini is asking what can give a fresher an advantage over others that they don't have any work ex. Actually, the answer to your question is in your question itself. That advantage of a fresher over others if they don't have an work ex. I didn't have an work ex, and I had to portray myself that it is a good thing that I have coming directly to test, directly applying to test just after my engineering. I tried to be convincing in that way that this is a right decision at this time in my career. Similarly, if you have a work ex or a gap year, you need to be convincing why this is a good step at this career point, in your career point as well. So you need to be thorough about why you're applying. So these all things we'll talk about in detail after the shortlist comes, and I'll will also guide you through the interview process or any other processes that are coming after the first stage. Okay.
So I'll just add to that, since this question is being repeated, that I personally have a gap year. I do not have a work ex, but it's just important that you justify yourself in the interview. You are confident about what decisions you took in your life, and that's, I think, enough. They will not judge you on the basis of anything, but it will be worse if you are not able to be happy about what decisions you took. Don't be afraid, don't be suspicious of your own decisions, and that will really help you. So I think yeah, next question is from Monal, that does this students have legal background also in HRM and LR? Definitely, this accepts diversity. It is a very diverse batch, people from engineering, arts, then legal background and science streams. Everyone comes here. The background
Everyone.
doesn't matter at all. And what is needed is your intensity and your interest in the HRM and LR program, and then you will be performing exceedingly well. The previous background doesn't matter anything.
Yeah. As Akshita and Amisha are asking some important or main topics for quants and GK respectively, I cannot guess that. And there's no such thing like if you compare this to another exams, for example cat, that cat has a history of making a few weightages to different section. TISSNET does not follow that. TISSNET can have a variety of weightages from every section. So if your friend is focusing more on, let's say, sports tournaments, he's a sports avid and he's trying to get, so don't get intimidated that by that. Okay, it's, there's no guarantee that questions will come from that. Okay, and from not what you are trying to read, and no one can predict that. Your guess is as good as my guess. Okay, so you try to cover things that you feel are important for the exam. The specific amount of subjects are given on the TISS website, admissions website. You can go check on the details of TISSNET. The entire course, like for mathematics, it's only till the 10th standard, so that it does not give advantage to engineers or any other things. And as regarding the background, people from different background, my friends are from like law degrees, holding law degrees, economic degrees, political science degrees, engineering degrees, every kind of background people are there. So we have a diverse pool of people, what I'm trying to say. So you don't need to get intimidated but what you have done until now in life, at least at this. They say that all your pap goes in the water when you apply for TISS. They do not look at your past that much when compared to other institutes.
So I think Amisha is asking that there's so much to cover in current affairs. So how to guess what is important from the exam point of view? So I would say, Amisha, you should look for the previous year's papers, analyze the topics that are being asked. So I think Utkarsh also told some of the topics that are important. For example, the international organizations, their headquarters, or the geography, mountains and river systems. But again, there is no one can actually predict what comes in the exam on that day. Like in our case, the TISSNET exam was a little bit different from what was asked in the previous years. But if you're thorough with what you have studied, even if the direct questions do not come, on the basis of elimination, you will be able to give your best in the exam. And therefore, do not try to pick and choose, but definitely the previous year's question papers and analyzing them again and again will help you to boil down on some topics that you should focus more upon. And ultimately your educated guesswork and elimination techniques can help you a lot in the exam.
Yes. Akshita is asking, you got placement from TISS? Yes, of course. 100% record holds at TISS. Like we are from first year and our summer placements are over a couple of months ago. And the current batch, our senior batch, final placement just got over a few days ago, that we told in the slide. This video would probably be available on the YouTube, so you can rewatch the entire section as well. So regarding their exact numbers, so stay tuned. We would be posting the entire placement report on our Instagram, Facebook, and different platforms as well. Okay.
So Bhavya is asking, does scoring high in TISSNET gives advantage to a candidate? I would say definitely it gives an advantage, but ultimately what decides your final selection is how you perform an interview as well. TISSNET will, so if you clear the cutoff closer to the margin as well, but you perform better in interview, still you'll be selected, I think. So there's no hard and fast rule in that, but yes, try to give your best effort. So do not let yourself down, that you do not give your best. So TISSNET and scoring high in that will definitely help you.
Just to
And
extend this answer with an example, I'll tell you example of this year and previous year. This year, during our selection, TISSNET played a direct role in the final selection. It had a certain weightage in the final selection. Whereas compared to the previous year, TISSNET did not play a direct role in the final selection. TISSNET was just used as a screening exam that you need to clear before entering in the exam. So as the entire process is not yet publicly disclosed yet, so you can't say that I would just clear the TISSNET cutoff. You try to score maximum because it will definitely help you in increasing your chances of getting selected.
so
Okay, one
Mitri,
interesting questions from Fact Matter, like great, most of the TISSians are fluent in speaking English, so is it that a person who fumbles can't make it? No, no, Fact Matter, this is not the case. If you make it to TISS, you would find people from having different accents or having different level of fluency in their English. Okay, so a few people like our alumni also told you did not have the total fluency in English in interviews as well. So the panel is considerate during that. Okay, the panel knows that if you're not from a, let's say, English medium school, you have not studied 10 12 years in English medium school and you cannot speak English that fluently, they are considerate in that. So you're not judged on it, not judged on it completely. Okay, you need to be convincing and different factors in an interview.
So Rutuja is asking, would you please describe your work in industry during internship? I think it's an interesting question,
Hmm.
particularly for me in the fieldwork organization. The work was based on employer branding, but there are diverse projects which are given to people. They might be in the area of compensation, they might be in the area of competencies, communication plan, and many other things which are taught to us. So the
Hmm.
internship as well as the field work helps us to apply what we have learned in the academic classes, and learn in a much better way what we were going through in the classes, and therefore it is a perfect blend of theory and practice.
Yes. For me, fieldwork, my fieldwork was revolving around the application of labor laws in compensation and the vendor compliances. So we learned these things in our first semester and we got to apply that in our first fieldwork. So that there's no better way of teaching or getting something learned by just applying the things you have learned just in your previous semester. So yeah, fieldwork, 4 fieldworks and a summer internship, a total of 5, plus an NGO stint, like a total of 5 experiences. For me, it's a delight. For me, coming to TISS was a delight because before coming to TISS, I had no previous experience of working with any company. So by the time I pass out from TISS, I will have an experience from TISS, hopefully from 4 or 5 different organizations throughout my journey. So it would be a very good factor. And apart from TISS, this won't be possible in any institute. Uttkarsh, just to doubt that how many seats are there for general candidates. This information is not available publicly, but the total number of seats we can talk about. Like previous year, our senior batch and our batch had a difference in the total number of admitted seat. Our batch is slightly bigger than the previous batch, so we can say that the seats are dynamic slightly. Seats can go down or up. The total number of admissions can go down on a year-to-year basis.
So Mithri is asking any updates on stage two. So I think Utkarsh has already told that stage two has not been announced yet. And as soon as it will be announced, the ARC will keep you updated on that. As of now, only stage one is announced, and that is 1 month from now. And therefore, just focus on that and keep studying for TISSNET. Stage two will be announced, and the ARC will keep you posted on that.
Okay. So I can see this doubt is repeated multiple times, Ojol, Swini, Akshita, that HR is going to be extinct in the near future and HR is not having growth in the career, money, etc. What do you think? I'll give you an example. A few sessions ago, our alum came and he told the exact scenario that when you pass on from TISS, a few months you would be in that top 30% tax bracket. You'll be paying tax more than people are like earning right now. So there's no need to worry about money when you're coming to an institute like this. Second of all, is HR going to be extinct in the future? No. I'll explain this to you by example of my decision. When I converted a few of the IMs and I converted IFT as well. So I was admitted in the IFT and I was just giving TISSNET interview at that stage. So when I converted TISS, I had the choice of either staying at IFT or coming into TISS. So I did a lot of research and I can assure you that if I did not have seen any future in the HR field, or there would be people who would be stereotypical that are HR में क्यों जा रहे हो? Why are you going to HR? HR is only meant for girls. That's it. They are just typical stereotypical thinking of that. You know, do not need to focus on that. What you need to focus on the hard facts. See the placement report. See the alum base. What have they done in their career? You need to see on that. And researching all these things, I took a decision and then I left IFT for TISS, and I am seriously happy here. Okay, on my decision. Okay, so a lot of the people saying thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. So I guess we have answered most of your queries, and if not, if you have still any pressing queries, you can all text us anytime on our Instagram, Facebook Aspirants group. There are a lot of queries always revolving. Aspirants are posting and getting answered, some by our side, some by the aspirant side as well. So you get a healthy blend of answers in that. Okay, so you can ask us anytime, and we'd be continuing with the Chat with TISSNET initiative. Quiztopia, as I mentioned, you can come at, and it is a good way to practicing. And we would be taking more webinars after the testnet is over regarding the other stages of the exam as well. So stay tuned on our sessions. Uma Shankar, the final sum up for this session. We discussed in this session that why TISS, why you should come up in the TISS, the specific advantage of the USP of TISS, 4 fieldworks, 1 summer internship, 1 NGO. There's a lot of opportunity for you to get experience in that. Then we talked about the strategy. If this video is available on YouTube, you can just scroll through the whole webinar where we talked about different strategies for different sections specifically. Then we talked about general tips of the exam. Don't burn yourself out before the exam. Stay mentally fit, stay physically fit. And thank you for everybody who has attended the webinar, and all the best for the upcoming testnet exam. Have faith in yourself, and I'm sure you're gonna make it, because like me, I prepared for tests on a very short notice period of time, and I did it. So by my example, keep yourself motivated, and all the best.
Thank you, everybody, and all the best. Keep studying hard. You'll definitely crack the exam.
Okay, so guys, we